Okay, okay. So this will be a short video because I want to get to work, like to practical stuff. But before I start my practical construction, I want to just draw the outline of what are the conclusion of the last video. The theoretical video from me yesterday, and perhaps later, tomorrow or so, or this week, I will speak with more elaboration, because I really want to get to business, like to work right now. So this will be very concise. But in any case, I would say that this is very speculative and theoretical, as I've said before. These are areas that we must be, we must trust the help of God, or our intuition, or both, or Musa, as they say, the muse. So the muse of science, of technology, Tekna. There is a muse called Tekna. So we must trust Tekna or God or whatever that will show us the correct path. So I'll say it. Very concisely, it is certain that the gate from Venus to Israel is closed. Okay, they can get back. Now, in reality, I can say that all those that actually passed the gate from Israel to Venus, and everyone that passed lately, in the last tour, that passed the gate from Ukraine to Venus, they are all chopped meat already. So all your hopes are just futile. They are chopped meat already. They are dead. They are dead. Chopped meat, all of them. But of course, people in Israel and Ukraine don't know that. Now they do know that they do know that the gate is closed from Venus to Israel. Okay, because they aren't coming back as they should have. That's what they do know. And in Israel, they still have some hope, which is entirely ridiculous, because they are all chopped meat already. But they still have the hope. That's why they press all these ridiculous buttons of restarting, and so because and once they saw that I've done the reset, they didn't I told me do a construction with this and that, because this will presumably open the gate. No, they don't. They lost hope about it, but they don't want the gate from the Ukraine gate to be closed as well, because they have the false hope that they will that the people will get back from there. This will never happen, because they are all chopped meat, ground meat. But that's their hope. Now, obviously, there are also in Venus people from the Ukraine, because obviously they use it all the time. They don't need special reason to use it. But for certain that right now no one will actually do the effort to pass the gate in Ukraine, to find people over there and to warn them about the situation, and also to search for the Israelis and tell them to return from the Ukraine side. Because you need to understand what kind of people you're dealing with. They are the worst venomous snakes on these solar systems. These are horrible Venusians that were kept as slaves when they were young by humans, and they were breeded attack dogs without any morality at all. And as I said many times, only God can judge them, and maybe He will be more lenient than how He judges in the afterlife. More lenient than He judges Homo sapiens, because indeed they have the slavery hard as a difference. But this is in many of the cases, this is a very minor difference, because they've done so much crimes, so many crimes, and it was very clear to me that they've done so many crimes against me. I am their one of their victims, but of course not the only one. So, but let's leave aside the theological argument, which can only be solved by God. For certain, these are the worst. From a practical point of view, these are the worst intelligence agents on the earth. the worst of the worst, like, I mean, both the Ukrainians and the Israeli. And they are, I mean, they've done any possible crime and they don't have any morality at all. By the way, they are not only intelligence officers. They are also, I mean, it could be pilots in, like, I don't know, the Air Force or whatever, or I don't know. Or do all sorts of stuff. But whatever they do, it's in the most, like, vicious way and immoral. Whatever they've done, as I said, they are all chopped meat, ground meat. So these kind of people will never risk themselves, like, I mean, to warn, like, another, like, one, even, like, if they belong to the same, like, I mean, like, nation, and most certainly not for another nation. You can be certain about it. But still, Israelis hope that, I mean, maybe by chance, I mean, they will understand the issue and, like, do the trip, I mean, to the other gate. Now, we can know that they are not adjacent to each other. First of all, they are not adjacent in the earth. And so why would they be adjacent over there? It's kind of silly. I mean, obviously, I mean, the idea was, I mean, to keep it, like, I mean, dispersed. There is also one in Iran, and there is also one in the United States, and perhaps more. So, it's not the same place. Now, let's say I want to now close the, now, how do we know that, I mean, we close the gate to Israel from Venus and not, like, from Israel to Venus? Because if it was that way, I mean, there were more certainty, like, in the Israeli side as to what's the situation, and it's clear that they don't really understand. I mean, they started to understand, like in the last couple of days, but I mean, it's clear that, I mean, during the last week or two, I mean, they didn't really understand what's going on. And this is, I mean, and also, I mean, the dioramas that I created were all water dioramas, and, like, shallow waters, or, like, I mean, water, like, with you know, it was there was submerged gates, and the gate in Israel, we know that it's not submerged because by the way, if anyone didn't understand, like, my argument on the matter, like, I mean, perhaps I wasn't, like, my metaphor wasn't clear enough, like the textile factory, it's just, I mean, something, it's a bit of Israeliana that, supposedly, I mean, Ben Gurion, like, I mean, the Prime Minister Ben Gurion, maybe he hosted, I mean, like, an American president, maybe it was Eisenhower, no, it wasn't Eisenhower, later than Eisenhower, maybe Kennedy, yes, maybe Kennedy, I don't know, I sorry, man, I'm not sure, like, no, so because Kennedy was after Ben Gurion. Never mind. I mean, so a prime minister from Israel, so we spoke with, like, American president when this American president was visited Israel, and this happened during the 50s or the 60s. I don't remember when. Maybe it didn't happen at all. I mean, it's just it's kind of, it's Israeli, piece of Israeliana. Like, I mean, it's a piece of, like, I mean, like, pop culture mythology, or, like, pop culture, like, item, like this kind of tale, like a story that I mean, so the president, like, asked him, so, Mr. Prime Minister, I mean, what's that factory that we know that you build over there, like, in the desert, like in the Negev? So he told them something that, like, that's a new textile factory. And that's how the story ends. I mean, it's not a very smart or humorous story, but, I mean, it's widely known in Israel. I mean, until, like, I mean, maybe not today, but, I mean, up until, I mean, the last generation, like, everyone knew this story. It's extremely common, and, I mean, the idea is that, I mean, the textile, the textile facility was actually a nuclear core that was built in Dimona with the aid of the French people for the purpose of constructing atomic weapons. That was the idea. And according to the story, at least initially, the Israelis didn't want the Americans to know about it. And, I mean, always they maintained the I would say it's called, like, a paradigm of ambiguity. Like, I mean, Israel is the only country in the world that, I mean, that holds this, like, stand or this position, I mean, like on the subject of atomic weapons, and it's always have been like that. They think that they are deliberately ambiguous regarding the question of like, do they have atomic weapons at all, and what kind of and how many, and they deliberately keep this ambiguity. And if you speak about like the atomic weapons of Israel, a major incident with regards to the atomic weapons of Israel happened during the 80s, when supposedly Mordechai Vanunu, supposedly a worker in Dimona in the nuclear plant or nuclear core, he acted as a whistleblower, and he spoke. He interviewed to LA Times, I don't remember what, in the foreign newspaper, and he gave them like a lot of descriptions and even like drawings, maybe even photographs and like ton of information. And then he was arrested in Rome, presumably by a Mossad agent. Maybe she was blonde, maybe her name was Lucy. And presumably he served like 30 years or so in the Israeli prison, in maximum security prison. And a couple of years ago he was released, but he still cannot leave Israel, so he's like kept in kind of like mansion, like in Jaffa or something like that. Supposedly, protected and like financed by, if I'm not mistaken, the Christian supporters that view him as a martyr, because supposedly he's like a martyr for peace or something like that. So they give him money, but he can't leave Israel, and he's under like heavy surveillance of the Shabak. And at least once, but not much more than once, he was allowed to give like pretty interesting interview. It happened maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Interview to the Israeli news, like Channel 1 or Channel 2, like news, evening news, news, news show, whatever it's called. So, and but accidentally, I remember that I was married back in the day. So it was maybe 6 years ago, 5 years ago. I was still married, and it was me and my wife, and possibly, maybe one of my daughters, or one of Orin, the older daughter, or maybe it was before she was born. I don't remember, but so something like 2015, 2016, something like that. 7 years maybe. So we gave the interview, and I was in Haifa, like in the apartment of the mother of my in-law, like the mother of my ex-wife. So the TV was open. I remember that because usually I don't watch news like since long ago. It's all crap, and it's just crap. Just piece of shit. That Israeli, disgusting Israeli people. Barfing at you. But we were there, and the TV was open, so I couldn't but listen to, and watch this interview. And my conclusion was that this guy is an actor. Mordechai Vanunu never existed. He is a fake human being. He never served 30 years in prison because he never existed. How can a person that did not exist actually served any time in prison at all? He is an actor. This was an interview that was done with an actor. So what's the deal? The material that he gave to this newspaper was like, it shocked like many people in the international community, because not because they didn't think that that Israel is developing a nuclear weapon, but because they didn't know like how big the project supposedly is. According to his to his information, Israel at the time, it was the 80s, had at their disposal something like 400 atomic warheads, which was much more than anyone suspected. So what's happened? So what really happened? So what really happened is the following. At the time, Israel had exactly 0 atomic warheads. They didn't have anything at all. And this was just, it was just a show of the Mossad. That's what they do. They do shows. I know these people. That's what they do. They work at the theater. The Mossad is just, one of the theaters of Israel. Like, they have a Bima, they have a Kamri, they have Bet Lessing, they have the Mossad. It's like a theater. That's what they do. That's what people do. They do theater shows, and this was one of them, a theater show. Israel did not have any nuclear weapons at the time. Now, in reality, it's not that it never had before or after. Actually, before that, I mean, actually Israel did had they had nuclear warheads, and after that they also had nuclear warheads. Because what happened is that I don't know exactly the history, of course it's secret history, but the main thing is that, I mean, as you know, this is not the first episode of of the cherubs that are very angry on humans because they exploited the titans of Venus, and that I'm not the first messenger, and many things. I mean, it's at least, as I said many times, it's at least the second episode. I mean, even when let's leave Jesus, the original Jesus 2000 Israel aside for a moment, but in modern Israel it's at least the second episode. Maybe it depends on how you count it. It's a very interesting issue, but I spoke about it in the past, and it's not the time to reiterate. But at least one major episode, happened during the late 70s, or maybe early 80s. Several important events happened, and it was discovered that Israelis are a piece of shits, and that they are, and that they are doing horrible crimes, and they were punished immensely for the crimes. By God. If you ask how it happened, so by diseases, of course. Many people died, and many people lost their fertility and lost their ability to have sex. This is true both for the Homo sapienses and for the Titan females. But let's leave this aside because we spoke about it a lot. But part of the arrangement, for how to keep this state alive, was a deal that was done between the Soviet Union and the United States. First of all, they annihilated the Dimona whatever, and and ensured that there was, at least for the time, there are no more weapons. Now I would say that it's important to understand that the old Dimona facility is also it's acts as a cover for things that are related to our dear Titans. So it's like two in one. They took over the Dimona facility, and they took over, and as I said many times, since the late 70s, the United States are in charge of Israelis. They are de facto, the bosses here. With some, of course, there is some intervention of Russia, because not only because of the Soviet Union history, but also because there are so many people that arrived here from the Soviet Union. And it's they play major role in the history of Israel, and so, and there was a huge migration right after the Soviet Union collapsed, and so for more than 1 million people for a country that had something like 4 million population. So it's something that that really changed Israel completely. Mostly for the best, I would say. But let's leave. It's not an issue that it's not related to anything. This is not the issue. The issue is that, of course, Russians they have strong influence here, and they also maintained some kind of influence here. Since the inception of Israel, because, as you know, Israel, the declaration of Israel was kind of a relatively rare occurrence during the 1940s and even much later, where both the Soviet Union and the United States agreed on the establishment of Israel, and also their followers followed suit, which left only 13 objectors to the declaration in the UN, which was just little fraction of the entirety of the voices. It happened on 1947. So let's leave. We can speak about everything, but the issue is that they were, since then, the Soviets were, heavily influenced the Israelis, and one of their greatest contribution, as you know, is the method that I'm its victim up until right now. This day, I'm as we speak, I'm victim to the method, to this monstrous
creation of the Soviet people, and that the Israelis are, that's their religion, that's the religion of the Shabak, is the method. And right now I'm subject to this terror, the terror of the method. Anyway, they understood, the powers understood that you can't you can't allow trash people like the Israelis actually to have nuclear weapons. That anyway, it's it's like giving like giving a Ferrari for like a 6-year-old like to drive. It's I mean it will not end in a good way. So they terminated this this project, but and also I mean from that day I mean the United States are the main like financiers of the Gate project, and that's why one of the the main reasons why there is almost not a day that you don't hear me curse the United States and say again and again that we will never forgive them. Like we the Kirks, we will never forgive them. They will suffer immensely. They will not be destroyed like to the last person, like in Israel. That will be the fate of Israel. But it will be another. They will go back to the 18th century. We will never forgive them. But they took their nuclear weapons, and of course also they actually and since then they actually they built like the air defense, like a small kind of like a U.S. military base in the Dimona like facility territory where they were both like supposedly the nuclear core exists and also the gate. And since then they have like American soldiers are always like they keep presence over there, supposedly for like anti-air defense weapons, but maybe they have other stuff. You can never know. And unfortunately, at some point later, the United States actually decided for some reason that that it's kind of like beneficial for some reason that Israel will have tactical like nuclear warheads. So they actually gave them some. So they do have some war, and I don't know why, but beat me. I don't know why, but yeah, so Israel does have like nuclear weapons at their disposal right now. Not, they cannot produce new ones, and they don't. It's not 400 like it was like supposedly during like Vanunu days, which was like it was all a bluff. Like none of it actually happened. But they do have like weapons. Gifts by Uncle Sam. Like most of other it's actually true to most of other what they have. Almost every weapon in Israel is manufactured. Is a gift for the Americans. Not including traditionally for some reason like the German are very fond of like manufacturing the submarines of the Israeli submarines. I don't know why, but most of like besides submarines, almost everything comes from like areas from like United States, and like real submarines. I know that you have metaphors, like real submarines that the Israelis have. They actually have much less than it's published, and most are not really functional. The Israeli Navy is like a piece of shit. They don't really have Navy. It's like it's not the issue anyway. Yes. So anyway, you should know. If you know the Negev, you hear the dogs barking. They bark. They bark. So anyway, the gate in Israel is not submerged because it's in the desert, but it's on the other side. It's kind of like it's in water, but it's still. It's in a relatively warmer place. I would say. Like relatively, because you can see by the dioramas that yes, it's submerged in water, but it's water with all sort of life in it, and and like flora and fauna, as they say. So I would say it's kind of like probably the Caribbeans of Venus, where the Israeli like gate located in Venus. So let's ask ourselves another question. How is the American gate looks on Venus? I have no idea, and I don't care. Next question: how is the Iranian or the Persian gate looks on Venus? I have no idea, and I don't care, because they don't use it anymore. They have used it during the time of the Shah, but not now. And most importantly, how does the Ukrainian gate looks? So I don't know, but I have like, as I said, it's less important a question than many people think, because many people just hope that everyone will get back. Both the Israelis and the Ukrainians will get back like peacefully through the Ukrainian gate, but they will not. They are all chopped meat. But why not close it anyway? That's my bet, that it's on ice. certainly there is a ton of ice on Venus. I mean, we've already, it was established already, I mean, that it's an aquatic, like world, and it's aquatic world that, I mean, half the time, every day is it lasts for 5,000 hours or whatever. I mean, it's like the huge, very long days and very slow spin. So, I mean, obviously, some parts are very, very cold, like all the time, and specific, and for certain. So I would say that, it's in one of these areas that the Equatorian Gate actually located, where this is the background. So, okay, so I'll stop here and maybe I'll hold another video, a very concise one, because I wanted to speak about the scientific issues, but then I will get back to construction. But let's just cut the video so it will be logically separated, as they say.